Hey everyone, welcome back to another film review with me, Bo, here on the Film Scene Investigation channel. Thank you so much for checking out the video. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the controversial 1980 slasher film, Maniac. Before we get into it, guys, if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to the channel. All the support is greatly appreciated. So, Maniac from 1980 was directed by the filmmaker William Lustig and starred the actor Joe Spinell in the lead role. It's safe to say that Maniac was a very small production with a very limited budget. Spinell, who actually co-wrote the film screenplay, played this psychotic serial killer loose on the streets of New York City. Now, when the film was released all those years ago, it was met with some very harsh criticism due to the film's violent nature. Maniac was actually banned here in this country, the UK, for many years before it was officially released. And, in my eyes, the censorship surrounding the film only made it more notorious. Now, I first came across this movie many years ago when I was watching an old Tom Savini documentary about his career. Savini ended up doing the effects for Maniac and subsequently had a minor role in the film. So yeah, they had some footage inserted into the documentary. For what it was worth, I thought it was pretty awesome, but only recently have I actually taken the time to actually sit down and watch Maniac in all its glory. When it comes to the film's narrative, the movie followed the serial killer Frank Zito, who was played by actor Joe Spinell. This guy was a sick individual who spent most of his nights prowling the streets of New York City in search of people to kill. The film's title wasn't wrong. I mean, this character indeed was a maniac, going around murdering people at random and then scalping his victims afterwards. It was very disturbing stuff. And I guess, for Frank, it wasn't just enough to actually kill someone. No. He had to, take a little piece with him back to his apartment. Just complete psychopath. Frank remained the central figure within the film, with everyone else kind of acting like side characters with no backstory. We never really got to know any other characters in the film, as the victims that we saw only appeared on screen for a few minutes before they were killed off. There was no mystery surrounding these deaths. There was no ongoing police investigation that we saw. It was simply just Frank, night after night, going around killing people at random, and we, the audience, were there side by side with him all the way. Now, in fairness, there was one character called Anna, who was this fashion photographer, who we did get to know briefly. Anna, who was played by actress Caroline Munro, was introduced very late on into the film, perhaps maybe in the last 45 minutes. Up until that point, we had only seen these vicious, brutal kills kind of happening one after the other with no real kind of story progression. So when the Anna character was introduced, I was glad to see something was happening, because up until that point, I was starting to get a little bored with these random kills. Usually in these types of films, there's a big supporting cast, everyone's got kind of backstories and there's a history in there and we kind of know more about the characters, but all that was pretty much missing from this movie. Once the Anna character was introduced, the story definitely picked up the pace as we saw Frank becoming more infatuated with her. The two actually became quite friendly with each other, yet Anna had absolutely no idea what she was getting herself into. It was obvious from the start that Anna was next on Frank's hit list. The film culminated with Frank's attack on Anna at a cemetery where Frank's mother had been buried. They were both there at the cemetery to pay their respects to Frank's mother, but once Frank saw the tombstone, he started to act very strange. Clearly, the sight of his mother's tombstone triggered some sort of emotional distress, as Frank then suddenly turned on Anna and started to choke her. Given the size difference between the two, Anna didn't really stand any chance against this big burly Frank Zito. And, when I saw all this play out, my assumption was, okay, there we go, Anna's next to be killed off. But to my surprise, she was able to actually escape. Anna was also able to injure Frank in the process before she ran out of the cemetery. Unlike all of Frank's other victims, Anna had actually survived and now could report him to the authorities. We saw Frank return to his apartment knowing that the game was up. It was only a matter of time before the police, smashed through his door and arrested him for all of the murders that he'd committed. So he decided to retire to his bed and wait for their arrival. When the authorities showed up at the apartment the next morning, they found Frank dead with a self-inflicted stab wound to his stomach. We saw the police rush to the apartment, their guns in their hand, ready to take out this maniac, but it was already too late. There was no way that this maniac, Frank Zito, was going to do time behind bars, so he took the only other option he had left. Now, one of the main highlights that this film offered was its amazing special effects from the legendary Tom Savini. From women getting scalped to a man's head being blown up. It was all there on screen. And with Savini's effects, the outcomes were very impressive. But as I say this, should we really be surprised? Tom Savini is a guy that I've always held in high regard. And, time and time again, he has proved what a great effects artist he is. Having Savini involved in any type of project would only heighten its quality, and that's exactly what happened here with Maniac. And, I'm just going to say this right now. After watching this film and seeing all the amazing practical effects, it did make me realize just how important practical effects can be to storytelling. I don't know, I'm just so sick of current day cinema, 21st century cinema is just so poor. And obviously this is the reason why I started this YouTube channel to, celebrate the amazing cinema of the past. The overuse of CGI in today's cinema is, pretty much unbearable. I don't really watch many new films, but when I do, it looks like something out of a video game. It's just so fake. It's just nothing there that you can really kind of get into. It's not tangible enough for me. And so really all I can say is seeing Maniac and seeing these amazing practical effects, it just made me miss them. And I long for a day when practical effects reign supreme again. I have to say, I really did enjoy the film's score that was produced by the composer Jay Chataway. This guy created this dark and moody soundscape which blended so well with the disturbing imagery on screen. I've said this before, but film scores are so important when it comes to creating the right mood and tone for your film. And if you've got a bad one, then it can really ruin the audience's experience. On this occasion, Chataway delivered the goods with his unique blend of musical arrangements. Many times we heard these crescendos of weird sounds and noises that were built up and then, blared out all over the place. The soundtrack really stood out, and just thoroughly impressed with Jay Chataway's efforts. The score almost acted like another character within the film, constantly shaping the film's sinister atmosphere as the story unfolded. Really great soundtrack. And I'll be honest, I don't really know too much about this composer, Jay Chataway. I know he did many soundtracks in the 80s. So, he's a guy that's now on my radar, and I'll definitely be checking out some of his other work for sure. When it comes to the performances, I thought actor Joe Spinell did a great job. And, he really took things to the extreme on this film. The actor conveyed a range of emotions, from sad to angry to happy and confused. I mean, it was all there, and it was very scary to witness because his performance felt so real. It felt so believable. And it wasn't just the performance, the actual physical appearance as well. Spinell had it down to a T. I mean, this guy indeed looked like a maniac. With the hair and the constant sweating, Spinell really did embody this mentally unstable man. And props to him for delivering such a haunting performance. There was a really creepy moment that I just want to quickly bring up, where we saw Frank lay on his bed, calmly talking to a mannequin. From what he was saying, it didn't really make much sense. It was just, thoughts from a madman. But already it was still kind of disturbing. But what really got me was the moment when Frank actually broke the fourth wall. You had the camera slowly pan around the bed as Frank spoke out. But when the camera finally centered in on Frank, he looked directly at the camera. It was strange because suddenly he was looking right at us, and it was freaky. Frank continued to speak as if he was speaking directly to us, as if we were in the room with him. It was just so creepy. But you know what? I will say it was a great idea, and it was brilliantly executed. Now, I understand that the filmmakers were trying to create suspense, having Frank go out lurking in the shadows night after night and, killing random people. Obviously, that was the main bulk of the story. Okay. But I have to admit that after the third kill, I was starting to get a little bit bored. I don't want to be too critical on the filmmakers because Maniac was filmed on a shoestring budget. The filmmakers were very limited in what they could do. But I have to say, a large majority of this movie is simply just a collection of kills. It was the same thing happening over and over again with no real story developing. With the lack of story, we were basically left with these long, drawn-out sequences of Frank in search of his next victims. All that footage, it just really slowed down the film's pace, and it actually felt a little bit like padding. I don't know, it just went on for a long time, and it didn't need to be that way. I really think it would have been interesting if we'd had seen, these investigators trying to track down Frank, trying to find his identity, this whole, cat and mouse game. But yeah, we didn't get any of that. And what we're left with was a pretty simplified slasher movie that I think after you've seen it, in terms of rewatchability, it's there, but whatever. And so, ratings for Maniac from 1980. I'm going to be rating this movie a solid 4 out of 10. Maniac was this bizarre character study of a depraved man who was lonely and on the brink of psychosis. Actor Joe Spinell did a wonderful job in the lead role as the madman Frank Zito. As I mentioned, this guy looked and felt believable as a crazed serial killer. With its use of run-down, sleazy locations, the film did actually remind me of the 1979 Abel Ferrara film, The Driller Killer. Both films painted a very grim portrayal of life in New York City, and to be honest, they would actually make a great double feature. It's safe to say that with Maniac, you don't need to use your imagination. All the blood, the guts, all of that was on screen for the audience to see in all its glory. Nothing was off limits. And I don't know, at times it almost felt like the filmmakers were doing their best to push the boundaries and see how far they could go. The extreme violence that was on show makes the other slasher films seem tame in comparison. So if you haven't seen this one yet and you're considering it, by all means, I recommend it. But be aware that this movie does not pull any punches. For those who have seen this movie, Maniac, let me know your memories of this movie in the comment section below. That is all from me today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this review of Maniac from 1980. I will be back next week, of course, with another cult movie review. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, take care. See you next week.